It's time now for Campaign Chronicles, and today I'm joined in the studio by journalist Celestine Boland. Good morning to you. Thanks for coming in. And also joined by Owen Fairclough, our business editor. Now, we're going to kick off with a look at the latest poll from Ipsos. It shows that socialist candidate François Hollande is in the lead with 31%. Second is President Nicolas Sarkozy with 24.5%. So Hollande gaining support, the president not budging. And in third, as you can see there, is National Front leader Marine Le Pen. She's got 19%. So turning to you, Celestine, first of all, those some of the latest figures. This is obviously just one of a few polls, but the timing, it comes right after that primetime interview with Nicolas Sarkozy. He didn't say that he is indeed running in the election, hasn't yet confirmed that.
Right.
But of course, what he was trying to do is gather support. And it seems, according to that poll, he's failed to do that.
I mean, I think that's right. I mean, I'm not sure that one interview makes, a turning in a campaign. But the fact is that he was hoping, obviously, for some kind of boost, even if it doesn't show up in the numbers. And I think that I think that this interview, I mean, almost a speech in a way, because has sort of left people more puzzled rather than invigorated, I would say. I mean, not, he proposes a series of things. Many of them have been things that he's talked about before, so you can't say it's new. Some of them involve new taxes. That's never very popular. And others, I think, are measures that, are just sort of minor, basically, in the kind of scheme of things. So
we're going to take a look at some of those proposals a little bit later with Owen, because the president announced several reforms, including raising VAT and taxing financial transactions. We're going to take a listen now to what François Hollande, the socialist candidate, had to say about those particular reforms.
I remind you that the first round takes place on the 22nd of April and the second round on May the 6th. It's hard to imagine that he can act after that without having won the backing of the French people. So I can't believe that such laws can be passed before the presidential election.
So that was François Hollande there, the socialist candidate, who seemed to be saying, what's the point of announcing these reforms when the president isn't sure he's going to be re-elected? But you might argue that this was Nicolas Sarkozy outlining what he would do if he is re-elected.
Right. And I mean, I think that was it. In some ways, he was probably hoping for a kind of a one-shot, in American football parlance, Hail Mary pass, something that makes him look bold and sort of out in front of the electorate, taking the hard decisions, being courageous, and so on. I'm just not sure that's worked, first of all, and maybe he's in a situation where, he needs something even more dramatic and more of a crowd-pleasing kind of measures. These, again, are complicated. They're perhaps even the right thing to do. And I think, his mentioning all the time of the German model, while he obviously hopes to sort of pick up some of the points that the Germans have made over the last 10 years, I think that's sort of irritating, actually, to a lot of French people to be told that the Germans, are the way to go. I think people sort of feel that that's, I'm not sure he needed to do that.
Because we're hearing that Angela Merkel might even join Nicolas Sarkozy on the campaign trail, but how well would that really go down with French voters?
Exactly. I mean, it's they feel, I mean, I think French sort of feel perfectly happy being French and not being told
and
that
not
they
being
need to be
compared to
more
Germany
German.
or the UK. All right, thanks very much. We're just going to turn to Owen now. You're going to take us through some of these proposals, which, as Celestine was saying, are quite complicated. You're going to tell us if the maths adds up on these claims that Sarkozy made to support some of his arguments.
Absolutely, and just to pick up what Celestine was saying, Nicolas Sarkozy has been comparing France with Germany more and more in recent months, and the fact is, whoever gets into power is going to have to try and make France just a little bit more competitive, and that's at the heart of many of these measures. But as you say, you wonder about some of the figures. Sarkozy did come out with a series of numbers during that prime time address on Sunday night. He said that in Germany, for example, employer costs are way lower than in France. Well, that's not quite true. For example, employers in Germany pay around 45% of an employee's salary in various social charges. In France, it's nearer 35%, so about an 8 or 10% difference. So it's really only 8% lower. I don't think it's fair to say that Germany is some kind of beacon, if you like, for lower social charges, where you can go to many other places in the world and find much lower charges. But the comparison with Germany perhaps is the one that Sarkozy wants to pursue.
What about the financial transaction tax? It's a pet subject for the president, Nicolas Sarkozy, and in fact, going it alone with this. And you can't fault the boldness of it, but will it actually end up making much money?
Well, you have to wonder, and at least you can't fault the consistency here. Remember, President Sarkozy has really been talking about this transaction tax ever since he stood up in front of the UN and wagged his finger a little bit and said, we must remoralize capitalism. That was back in 2008 when the global financial crisis was really kicking off. Again, though, you have to wonder, what will really be the impact of this financial transaction tax? Remember, it's a unilateral decision by France to do this. Some estimates say that it might only raise around €1 billion. That really is pocket change when you're talking about taxation. The European-wide plan to do this, you might remember the EU does have the backing of this. They want this to raise around €54 billion. But as things stand, of course, the French will be doing this on their own.
All right, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. Thanks very much for joining me in the studio, Celestine Bolin and our business editor, Owen Fairclough. That's it for Campaign Chronicles, and that's it also for Live from Paris. All the latest headlines in just a couple of minutes. Don't go away.
This is Kim, about to feel one of his favorite sensations. At Shell, we are developing more efficient fuels that can help us to get the most from our energy resources. Let's use energy more efficiently. Let's go.